Helps if I actually get this set up and running, right? Doesn't it? So, welcome to Thursday night with Cup of Joe with Joe. And because we're talking banana republics, yep, banana republics. That's what we're talking about tonight. Ah, so now, I need to actually get something pulled up here because this is absolutely too good not to discuss. So over the weekend, there was a gentleman. Um, okay, this week, I guess, who retired from the United States Army, no less. This was an aviation officer. Let's go ahead and pull up what we got here. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why I consider this to be particularly important is because of what it means in general. So, the topics I brought up for tonight are, one, of course, the Banana Republic. The idea that, currently we have generals who are wearing more medals today that have never fought a war than generals from World War One and World War Two who actually won wars. And this was something that we actually, used to joke about way back in the day about what it means to actually be part of a republic. So, um, there we go. And here we go. I need to present and I need to share. Are we going to share? Yes, we need to share the screen. Okay. Yes. There we go. And now we have it. Okay. And added to the stream. Ladies and gentlemen, Pup Ravage. Look at all those medals on his chest. Look at that Army uniform. Look at the unit patch. Morning, James. Yeah, Mad Dog. Mad Dog. Well, we all know Mad Dog. Now, thing is old Mad Dog Mattis, he was a Marine, actually. This Mad Dog, into his puppy play, you know, so retired. As of December 1st, so I guess technically this was 7 days ago, a week ago. Do nearly 3 decades in uniform. So that's, 29, 28 years, it's a lot of time in uniform. Old Army dog. He calls himself an Army dog. Yep. Um, he's Colonel Ravage, U.S. Army, retired. Okay, now he's not actually wearing his nameplate, so you can't really say, that his name is actually Ravage, or even that he's a colonel. Um, what he is he's an aviation unit officer. United States Army Aviation. Helicopter pilot, airborne, air assault. See what else does he got floating there? I mean, aside from the fact his ribbon rack is all jacked up and it's off angle, you're looking at a couple foreign wars, a couple deployments. Got his I was in the Army ribbon. Yeah, dude. Seriously. Right, Mike? Right? Oh, you're going to love this one, Mike. You're going to love this one. Okay. He medical officer. It's young captain. Fortunately, he's not wearing as many ribbons, so it's not quite as embarrassing. But medical officer, New Mexico National Guard. Uh, no, this one's Army too, National Guard. I have not seen the Air Force one, so I'm not familiar with which one he is. But yeah, seriously, come on, guys. No, just no. Um, mm, yeah. Uh, but yeah, Mike. No, it's bizarro world. Really, it is because what have we been doing for the last 20 years? Where we've allowed this to become an acceptable way to represent the nation. And when it comes to conservative values, who let the dogs out? Who, who let the dogs out? Dude, James, don't get me started, man. Yeah, yeah. We can be animals, man. We can be animals. Um, yeah, yeah. So, one, you're representing the nation. I get it. Uh, you wear a uniform, and to some people, they've taken this uniform and this uniform 30 years. 30 years. This uniform means life to them. It is their life. And here you've taken it and you've associated it with something that is, you know, regardless of how I feel about military involvement, recruiting, our continued participation in uniform in what we do around the world, you know, there are an awful lot of young men and women who still believe in the values that originally got us involved in the surface. Yeah. Um, and they are. These are literally the grown ups you and I had to take life and death orders from. These are the people who issued orders to Colonel. This is a full friggin' brigade, full friggin' regiment, you know, chief of staff for a division, aviation unit. He was a man who flew Apache helicopters, commanded a wing of, nuclear capable systems. Yeah. Or a squadron. I should say a squadron. As a lieutenant colonel, he would have commanded a squadron, an Apache squadron. Um, the medical, I'm assuming he's medical support, National Guard, doctor, maybe qualify as a surgeon. These are people with command authority. Flying dogs. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Command authority. These people have the authority as United States Army commanders, whether there's a captain commanding a company, whether a lieutenant colonel commanding a battalion, whether a colonel commanding a regiment or a brigade. These individuals had life and death authority over the members of their unit. They were, in way too many cases, judge, jury, and executioner. Their questions or their commands very rarely very rarely questioned. Their commanding officers accept their judgment the same way they would have expected their judgment to be accepted, right, wrong, or indifferent. Command authority. Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Ravage, 30 years in the service, would have received his commission at 22 after 4 years in either an ROTC program or an associated organization like West Point. Right? So this individual, 30 years, is 52. Would have been 48 as a squadron commander. 48 commanding officers enlisted, 18-year-old kids, aircraft mechanics. I will give you this, Commander Ravage. You have single-handedly probably done more to support the anti-war movement than any number of activists in the United States have done in the last 20 years. Because ain't nobody gonna enlist knowing some dumbass like you literally has the authority to lock them in the room for 30 days and deny them access to their family and their kids and half their fucking wages. Yeah. I don't know. 52, he probably is. Should be. We'll see. And yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's the truth. This is one of those things. Yeah, I'm not going to let this guy live this down. I am going to literally throw it out there that this man has made life and death decisions for junior enlisted soldiers that have ended lives, ended careers, and ended families. And we continue to allow this to exist in the medical corps. I don't know where else, but I mean, seriously, this isn't an isolated incident, folks. This is not an isolated incident. Okay. Now, in a lot of ways, us prior service, we got a pretty good sense of humor about this because we understand different people have different lives, different things going on in their life. Okay. Now, one of the things I love, okay, how many of you ever heard of First Awesome Platoon? Okay. First Awesome Platoon. We're going to go ahead and take a look at their Instagram page here. Yeah, okay. Maybe not their Instagram. What else they got? Let's check their WordPress site. Okay. First Awesome Platoon. Marine artist, no less. This guy's a Marine. Yeah, James. Right? Right? Could you imagine? Okay, so First Awesome Platoon. This guy's, yeah. Military. He's a brony. Yeah, James, are bronies. And they got a lot of humor about this. They're pretty easy going. A lot of these kids, we know we got things going. They got things going on in the background. All good. Um, you know, but they generally keep it low key. They keep it out of the public eye. You know, little fun, little jab. Little bit of humor. And the idea that we got these, young soldiers, young service members, who still get, you know, first awesome platoon. For all of our brony friends out there, you know, this ain't the same thing as what we did. What'll Pup Ravage here and his med board officer. I can't, dude. I can't. So one of the other things you're looking at now, one of the reasons for bringing this up is the whole idea of the Banana Republic, because our Colonel Goodboy here, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Pup Ravage here. We're looking at all those ribbons on his side. Sorry, Mike. Sorry. You um, but yeah. Yeah, we're looking at all these ribbons. Okay. And you take a look at the pictures of ribbons like Eisenhower, Patton, all of our classic heroes from back in the day, World War I, World War II, the ones that we, immortalized in film, immortalized in movie, immortalized in books. How many different ribbons do you see when we talk about Smedley Butler? You know, the man who was running around helping create banana republics by displacing governments for fruit companies. Um, you don't see them wearing all the ribbons. You don't see them wearing all the flash. Um, they won wars. They went out and they won wars. Whether we believed in the wars they fought or not, they went out and won wars. Those wars were their reputation. These days when it's like Afghanistan and Iraq, where it's like, what you do? Um, and they have to come up with a ribbon for every possible thing they might have done. You know, um, that's one of the things. Right, Mike? Absolutely. Officers love shiny things. Leaders don't care. You know, there's only like 3 ribbons there that old Colonel Ravage, Pup Ravage, retired, um, is actually required to wear. Probably only 1 or 2 of them that actually mean anything. Um, the rest of it's all flash. It's all banana republics. It's all generals trying to prove to each other, that they've done more than the other in a combat zone or in relation, and it's shows the degradation in what it means to serve our nation. Okay. Is these ribbons, they're like blurbs on a resume, fluff. They don't say anything. They don't mean anything. It's fluff. What'd you do? Where were you? I was captain. You were colonel's attaché. You're his secretary. You made sure he had his briefcase when he left home in the morning. Even as a colonel, You're a little more than a secretary for a general. The generals wear all of these badges. It's all fluff. It's all fluff and nutta. Yes, it's all fluff and nutta. But these are the signs of a banana republic. We no longer have real records of accomplishments. We no longer have the actions that support the reputation. They now build reputations around ribbons and fluff. And then they like to dress up in puppy masks and show the whole world that they're into an entire world of fetish and kink. That in many of these cases, if they'd found out one of their soldiers was involved in the evening and in the off time, those soldiers would have had their careers ended. Yes, officers like Pup Ravage have ended careers, destroyed families, and so on, based on rumors of an individual's fetishes. People like this writing psych evals, determining whether or not somebody's fit for service. 30 years, fit for service. One ribbon for surviving 1,000 others' deaths, yes. He issued an order that may have killed people, strange people who had no means of fighting back against him. Okay, now, this case, old Pup Ravage is an aviation officer. Okay, he's got a couple tours. Looks like some Iraq, some global war on terror, Armed Forces Expeditionary, some others. Yeah. He flew. He shot at people. People died. And here we are. Colonel Pup Ravage finally retiring after 30 years of service. He will continue to make more in his retirement. Yes, he was just doing his job. He will continue to make more as a retired 06 than any 50 privates put together. This is pointless. Why? Anyway, tell your friends and family that this guy, good old Colonel Pup Ravage, and individuals like him are going to be the ones that are deciding the fates of young Americans sent off to die at the pointy end of a stick for our banana republic. Thank you, Colonel Pup Ravage, for single-handedly probably doing the most damage for the recruiting effort of the United States military ever. Thank you, sir. No, it ain't it. It ain't. Get out, man. These guys aren't safe. These guys aren't sane. These guys should not be in charge of kids. Period. They shouldn't be in charge of $1 million pieces of equipment that kill people. They shouldn't. They shouldn't be in charge of deciding what is or is not some other individual's post-traumatic stress-based disability. End the wars, folks. End the wars. It's my big pitch. End the wars. Don't go to the recruiter. Don't let people like Pup Ravage decide the fate of your kids. We're better than that. And General DOGG. Yeah, Army dogs. Okay, so Banana Republic. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. End the wars. Defund the DOD. That's it, folks. Defund the DOD. This is an interesting. I'm going to go ahead and cover this topic, James. I'm going to go ahead and cover this topic, okay? Because species dysphoria. Let's talk about that. Species dysphoria. This isn't actually an LGBTQIA thing. And because most of that is still extremely focused on the fact that we are still human. Okay, do we identify as one or another? Okay. And the truth is this dysphoria, LGBTQIA. A lot of this is about how we identify as gender, sexuality, who we choose to love, what we love about people, their personalities, they're the things that we find attractive. And when it comes to puppy play, okay, not to kink shame, mind you, but when it comes to puppy play, this represents a particular sexualized fetish, a specific kink. Okay? As a square, as a military individual, most of these kinks, most of these fetishes are extremely frowned upon. Okay? The extremely conservative nature of military leadership does not appreciate these levels of sexual diversity, sexual divergence. However you want to actually look at the way puppies and other individuals who are into, pet play, actually deal with things. The thing is, this is one of those situations where we look at it and we go, okay, well, one, how does the mentality of this particular approach, especially when you make it a lifestyle idea, okay, lifestyle of being a dog while being in uniform, creating a particular public relations view of what's going on inside the community that is the United States military. And we identify the differences between fetish play, kink play, and where it belongs, as opposed to what goes on with gender and sexuality and who we identify with who and why we love the people we love. Okay. And this is an interesting thing here. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, it's binary. Pansexual, which isn't actually one of those that's listed in, the LGBTQIA. Because if we take a look at each one of these, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, The idea that you identify to the level that you are willing to go through the process to become, to modify your body into a form that resonates more with who you feel yourself to be. Queer, which is sort of a catch all term. And intersex, um, you know, I don't even know what the A is these days. Um, it's trisexual, James. Lots of people claim to be trisexual. They'll try anything once. Got you there. Okay, but yeah, Mike, let's get back to this thing. Standing arm, no, it's not constitutional. Not what we got going on right now. Okay. All the active emergency declarations in the active states of war, the SCOTUS could opine that the DoD must be closed. Okay, right? Okay. This is more about closing those active emergencies, because right now I believe we still have 10, 12 open states of emergency declared by the federal government that require a standing military in order to deal with it. We got the Iranian state of emergency. We got a Libyan state of emergency. Technically, Afghanistan and Iraq are still considered states of emergency. We still have friggin' states of emergency from Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. These are still active states of emergency that justify, allegedly, the cessation of rights, the continued maintenance of an ever growing standing military. Yeah, yeah, do it on your own time. It's always been the thing. Professional attire for the gender in which you present. It's not that hard. Okay. Um, and yeah, some legit, but the trendy ones. The trendy ones that do it because it's trendy. Do we really want them in charge of people because it's trendy? Yeah. And we're still sanctioning Iran for the hostages, still at war with North Korea. North Korea, the armistice, 1950s, we went in after 1945, started the war there. That war still is in effect. We are still sanctioning them. The ceasefire is still part of a continuing state of emergency. Many of these we don't need. We don't have a legitimate justification for the state of emergency or even for national security in many of these cases to continue justifying what we do. We've identified that the two primary threats to the United States of America right now are Russia and China. And 12 months ago, these were two of our largest trading partners. We have no legitimate reason to continue to maintain the states of emergencies and sanctions against the other 10, 15 countries that we currently have states of emergency assigned against. No reason whatsoever. There is no justification. Yeah, we sanction everyone. No one sanctions us back. It's because we got 10 carrier fleets, dude. It's because we got 10 carrier fleets. We have the ability to project military power anywhere on the globe in less than 24 hours. Nuclear capable. We can blow them into the Stone Ages and decimate their entire population like it was Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is one of the other things. Neither Russia or China can project conventional forces. We are the United States on the North American continent. We are surrounded by water. We got Canada to the north, Mexico to the south, and we have more guns in the hands of civilians per capita than all the militaries in the world put together. Ain't nobody a threat to who we are. Stop being scared, folks. Time to stop being scared. There is no nation on earth that is a threat to the collective American people. We don't need the army, especially under the control of war criminals and psycho puppies. Yeah, literally, we are the guy at the high school that steals lunch. Yeah, it's well documented. We are. It's the reason why we continue to enjoy being in the capital. Okay, it exists. That is what it is. Um, so let's go ahead, take a look at some of these other things that we got going on. I want to go ahead and talk about some of the other things. Armor Dogs, Awesome Platoon, and the Wars. Okay. We got Banana Republic to nail down. Third Weimar Republic. Okay, how many of you are familiar with the Weimar Republic and what it was we did with that? Okay. Now, the Weimar Republic was what happened, what led up to World War II. Weimar Republic was probably one of the most decadent cultures in modern Western era. We've immortalized it in movies. The Moulin Rouge. Okay, even though it was about Paris, is equally as much about Berlin, Germany. The amount of decadence that was going on, the love, the indulgence, the hedonism, everything that we have early stages, late stages, I don't know anymore, man. It seems further and further we get down. Definitely kept a lot of people down. But again, this is about the free market. If we weren't stealing from them or blowing them up, and we actually allowed them to participate and develop their own free market, their own industries, independent of U.S. interference with the International Monetary Fund and similar things, you know, and this is one of those things an awful lot of people start getting weird about, the idea of, well, if we allow everybody on the globe to be independent and strong without us directing their democracy, what does that actually means to us? Um, uh, Most of the history I know about the Weimar Republic, they didn't actually hide it that well. Okay, World War One, World War Two, you saw an awful lot of the Weimar Republic. You were still dealing with a lot of the Ottoman Empire. You were still dealing with an awful lot of the cultural hedonism of the era of the time. Okay, Le Moulin Rouge, the cabarets, the things that we were dealing with in the 1920s, during Prohibition, the speakeasies, jazz, in addition to what we were doing here in the United States, Europe had their version of that was going on. The Turks, all of those countries that had been redesignated and realigned based off of the, post World War One, when the powers that won divided up the Weimar Republic and the Ottoman Empire, and leveraged, all the things that they did, for crimes against humanity, all of the reparations that were expected. Um, But yeah, we've been in slow motion for a long time. The hedonism, the push, the idea of me, the mega consumerism, because we've lost the soul, we've lost the sense of community. We've lost the idea of evolving beyond the need of perpetual indulgence, in order to fill the blank spaces within our participation in community. Um, but yeah, when it comes back to this, no, James, the Weimar Republic had their problems with the pedophilia rings and elite as well. The thing is back then you didn't have the same means to go about discovering it, uncovering it, and exposing the members. You didn't have opportunities like were presented with, the Epstein. Didn't hang himself. It's time to go hang the hot. It's time to go hang the Christmas lights, folks. Why? Just like Jeffrey Epstein, they ain't gonna hang themselves. Um, but yeah, no, the Weimar Republic had its indulgences. It did not have problems when it came to um, hedonism, exploitation, dangers. There were, like right now, Afghanistan is selling children to warlords. Many of these children are going to be used once and disposed of. While we were in Afghanistan, some of our exposure to some of the cultural differences, for those who had the influence and power to indulge, much like here in America, here in the United States, we have certain people with enough power to indulge. I'm not talking going, into Tiffany's, and buying trinkets, talking about things like Epstein Island where people buy people for no other reason than somebody wants to indulge in something that is a straight up frigging violation of consent, straight up a violation of cultural norms, straight up a violation of human rights. And we have people with enough power here in the United States because we've allowed it to become concentrated. And we have enough people here with enough power in the United States that these type of things can be indulged for a price. I mean, right now, the Afghan War, that was 3 generations. What have we done to 3 generations with the Afghan War? Okay, 1914, World War One. 19. Well, let's go ahead and talk here. 1914 to 22. They were fit to fight, had the fortitude and integrity. We shipped them off for extermination. What kind of men were left? Okay, World War One, World War Two, Korean War, Vietnam. It was Vietnam before we got rid of the draft. 3 generations. In addition to that, we persisted in creating an economic environment that created the poverty draft. So when it came to the wars above and beyond, putting Marines in Lebanon, Panama, the Balkans, Serbia, Croatia, Somalia. These weren't the wealthy kids that went to fight. These weren't no senator's sons. These weren't no silver spoon sons. These weren't no fortunate sons. They went to fight Vietnam and Afghanistan and Iraq, and come back with Gulf War syndrome, and cancer, and living in toxic chemical dumps because the military, whether it was the Marines, Army, Air Force, Navy, couldn't be bothered to actually properly dispose of the chemicals that they used on a regular basis prior to, whenever they got around to Superfund site cleanups. Okay. What was left after we took the best of America, our brightest, our bravest, our stewards, our servant leaders, the ones who accepted the call of our nation and went forth to do battle for glory, honor, freedom, and the Constitution, to defend the Constitution from enemies foreign, because our domestic enemies told us they were the bad guys. Now, yesterday, December 7th, let's talk about that. Pearl Harbor Day. Pearl Harbor Day. It really always has been. The libertines, it's always been about freedom. Without the libertines, there never would have been a liberty movement. There never would have been this idea of my body, my choice, bodily autonomy, being able to choose of my own free will what is and is not to be done with my person. Sexuality was a means of expressing that. So let's get back to Pearl Harbor Day, yesterday, December 7th. Pearl Harbor Day, more than 2,000 Americans died in a surprise attack by the Japanese on Pearl Harbor. At least that's what they want us to believe. That is what we've been told in our history for decades. A day that shall live on in infamy. The Office of Naval Intelligence knew about the strike. They knew what was going on. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was actively antagonizing the Japanese government, inviting them to initiate a conflict, trying to convince them to go to war with us. Office of Naval Intelligence knew when the attack was happening. The Office of Naval Intelligence got our newest ships, our biggest ships, our best ships out of Pearl Harbor well in advance of the attack. Everybody who was left in Pearl Harbor was left there as a sacrifice in order to secure the national will for a declaration of war, the only constitutional way that the United States could enter the war. A declaration of war against the Japanese and by effect the Germans, so that we could, the 8 points memo. Figured out what to do to start a fight, did it in order, on schedule, and intentionally. 2,000 men dying, 2,000 men, women, and children dying at Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1945. It was intentional. It was a sacrifice. Our elected officials decided was acceptable in order to achieve personal goals and personal gains. 1941. Yeah, 1941. 45 was when it was over. VJ Day. That wasn't the first time we permitted a false flag, an intentional act of war that we knew about to occur without informing the intended victims that it was going to happen, so that they could go through the due diligence to preserve their lives to the best of their ability. USS Liberty in the 7-Day War for Israel, Gulf of Tonkin, the Twin Towers. These were all things we knew about. All things our elected leadership knew about. And they were perfectly content to allow U.S. service members the opportunity to die in ignorance on behalf of their nation, or what these leaders wanted their nation to be. Now you got people like Colonel Pup Ravage, retired, deciding the fates of these young men. It's time to end the wars, folks. It's time to talk to your kids about what it means to be part of the system. Yeah, they're young. They're impressionable. I got kids. I got two. They've actually done time in the service. One in the Air Force, one in the Army. Would I have talked them out of it if I could have? Yes, I would have. They weren't going to be talked out of it, though. They remember what it was like when I served, what I believed in when I served, the things I knew when I served. And as a result, they went on to follow in my steps because this was something they knew and something they understood. Okay. I don't know. 9/11 allegedly was a false flag. Until the memoirs, the Bushes actually get declassified in the same way that the FDR 8-point memo was declassified. Will we ever know for sure? We all know it wasn't planes that took it down. But was it indeed a false flag? Or was it just opportunism? Was it opportunism used as an opportunity to create the justification for what we went on to do? U.S. Liberty. Okay, the U.S. Liberty, that was actually an interesting issue because that wasn't a false flag. We didn't actually use the U.S. Liberty to justify getting involved in the Middle East. We didn't use it as a justification to intervene in the 7-Day War. And because the USS Liberty was actually a U.S. electronics warfare ship. We were doing signals intelligence intercept of the Israelis, no less. And it was Israeli fighter craft that actually took out the skiff on the USS Liberty that was collecting the intelligence. But yeah, Gulf of Tonkin was a big one. I don't know. That's a good question. I think we can say it on Twitter. I don't know that we can say it on some of the other channels, some of the other stations, depending on who's in charge. Dude, you guys got to follow me and Mike on Twitter. We got into the whole thing today. Was it today, Mike? Where we got into Twitter is a United States intelligence and propaganda asset that somehow got sold to a foreign national by accident. Yeah. No, folks, Elon Musk is deep state. He's well connected. We just don't know which side he's on right now. I mean, the man has made millions, billion. He's made billions. He's a billionaire. He's made billions, doing favors for the United States government, Department of Defense, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, we did the PSYOP. We talked about, yeah, good times, man. It was good. Yeah, Civil War was Monday. Civil War was Monday. We talked about the idea of doing it. Dude, we're going to get each other into trouble. We are literally going to get each other on watch lists that we're not on yet. Uh, Talking some of the stuff as open as we talk about it on, some of these channels. Um, yeah, they were both psyops, pretty much. What can we do as your average American to stage a counter coup against? No, seriously, folks. Though, if you guys know anybody who want to do a Ukraine level psyop funded by local operatives, non-government agencies, hit us up. It's in Minecraft, so it's okay. Doing it in Minecraft. Hmm. Hmm. Um, anyway, love you guys. I got to roll on out of here. You guys have all been amazing tonight. Love you. Stay safe, stay sane, stay friendly. Family, friends, community. As long as you got those three, you can make anything happen. And universe willing, no banana republics for you and me. Stay safe, folks. Love you all. Oh, gotta do the whole brand thing. I gotta get the outro.